viewers, and welcome to this evening's show on Time with Your Banker and Financial Advisor, sponsored by Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank. This evening, we are going to discuss what one should expect when he or she walks into any of a bank branch. And I have a seasoned banker with me. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Get ready to move on up with Ecobank. Easy access to your account wherever you are in the world. More ATMs across Africa than any other bank, so there's always one closer to you. The freedom to pay with a card instead of cash. To bank with your mobile anytime, anywhere. Or send money thousands of miles in a flash. Plus, smart ways to save and invest so your children can move on up too. And trust Ecobank to help with the things that matter most. Visit us online today and move on up with Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank.
Welcome back, viewers. This program is sponsored by Ecobank, the Pan-African Bank. As I have already said, we're going to look at what a customer or any person should expect when one walks into any banking hall of a bank. And with me today is a seasoned banker. She's a writer, she's a chartered banker, she's a consultant, and her name is Madam Alberta Kwakupon. Auntie Abby, that's how I called her. You are welcome to the show this evening.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Auntie Abby, it's been a while.
Yes.
I was at your last launch, the last launch of your first book. That was on the 21st century
bank
teller. We'll look at that at the end of the program because I want you to talk a little bit about the book. Okay. But what should one expect when one walks into a banking hall of a bank?
Okay. Looking at your question, we have various types of customers. Mm-hmm. I'll look at a first-timer walking into a bank branch. Yes, a
first-timer.
Okay, a first-timer, after being welcomed by a good security person, enters the bank and should normally cite a very welcoming atmosphere. We have some of the staff sitting within the banking hall, others are at the back. You have the first point of contact are normally the customer service officers. Some are called client service officers, some are called front desk officers, and then some are called personal bankers. You also have others who also do sales and marketing, but those people are normally out of the branch most time of the day. So most of the time, the first point of contact is the customer service officer who will welcome you and then attend to your inquiries. They are normally all-rounders who should know everything that happens
the
nitty-gritties, and then direct you to the relevant area that you need to be attended to.
So a first-timer walks into the bank, gets to a customer service rep, or a salesperson, or some of the banks call them sales executives.
Exactly.
And then what happens exactly? What conversation should we expect?
Okay. Depends on what you want to do. People walk into the banks normally as clients. Sometimes they come to access the services where the banks act as agents. For example, money transfer services, payment of bills for various companies, utility bills, school fees, and so on. Those are normally clients who should also be treated very well because they end up as customers. Some also want to open an account or just make some inquiries. And that is where the customer service person should welcome the person and then try and attend to the needs of the customer. You don't sell a bank product without attending to the need. So you ask the customer, how may I help you? If he says he wants to open an account, there are several accounts. Some may be suitable for that customer, some may not be suitable. So that is where these days we look at a needs-based interaction. So customers should tell, okay, I want a current account. By looking at the various interaction you'd have with the customer, you'll be able to know whether the customer should be given a current or savings account. Some are not e-conscious. They shouldn't be given e-banking, ATMs, and so on because they may be illiterate. So after
anybody can have access.
And there are frauds and other things related to such bad attention given to these people.
Then such a person must be a very friendly person,
exactly,
open person,
exactly,
somebody who is very accommodative,
exactly,
with smiles.
It's very pleasant. And sometimes if there are certain people who are just not cut for front office, they are supposed to be at the back where you need, there's very little distraction. You need accuracy, both accuracy and speed and analytical minds. Front desk people should be socially acceptable, tolerant, pleasant, and have patience for every kind of customer. Patience and tolerance. Also being diplomatic and be able to attend to their need and refer to other places when they are not able to solve the problem of the customer.
So if one walks in and wants to open an account, what are the things that goes into it? Okay,
for over a decade now, internationally, all financial institutions are enjoined by various laws and regulations to look at certain basic things, normally summarized as KYC. That is, know your customer.
That's the KYC,
yes.
Know your customer.
Yes, and this originated because of terrorist financing, anti-terrorist financing, drug peddling, and so on. So as a customer and the bank, there should be mutual trust and a good relationship. So a bank is supposed to make sure that the people that you are accepting into your family, as we say it now, your relationship, are the people they claim they are. And there are various checklists and documents that should prove. For example, you have to show that you are the person whom you claim to be. And that is your name. And we have the nationally recognized IDs.
ID cards.
Voters ID, driving license,
NHIS,
national
which one? The
NIA.
NIA.
Exactly.
Okay.
And these are passports.
Yeah.
Passports where it shows your identity. If it's a passport, you know, account opening is done for both nationals and foreigners. So that particular instrument or document shows whom you are. And these are they are photo IDs. Gone are the days where you just come in, they take a picture and then you just open an account. These days, as part of the KYC, you have to proof of who you are. So all these, it indicates your birth, date of birth, all these things are requested, and it is used to fill the account opening form, AOF. And it is a mandatory that the first thing is your identity. And these documents prove your identity. We also have proof of residence. Proof of evidence, there are a few controversies around it because in our parts of the world, there are certain unmarked areas, geographically sometimes inaccessible, and there are various ways around which banks try to help.
It's very intensive. We'll come back shortly. Viewers, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. This program is sponsored by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Get ready to move on up with EcoBank. Easy access to your account wherever you are in the world. More ATMs across Africa than any other bank, so there's always one closer to you. The freedom to pay with a card instead of cash. To bank with your mobile anytime, anywhere. Or send money thousands of miles in a flash. Plus, smart ways to save and invest so your children can move on up too. And trust EcoBank to help with the things that matter most. Visit us online today and move on up with EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Viewers, welcome back. This program is sponsored by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. With me today is Madam Alberta Kwakupon. Auntie Albi, you were talking about proof of residence, and it's very intensive because most of our areas are not actually marked. But for some few months back, I've realized that there's been some kind of land marking in some certain areas. But majority, no. So how about that?
Okay. Naturally, people open accounts in places of convenience, normally in a town where they live. In these days of networking, you can open the account and then follow up and do other transactions across the network. And some banks are now trying to get to help those who are not able to get utility bills, because the proof of residence are normally indicated by utility bills. There are other documents that even shows that this is the place you live. Now, some of the bills obviously are not in the name of the customers because they may be even too young to build a house. It could be a family house, and there are rented properties, and some bring tenancy agreements to show that it's actually been rented. But here, we have a lot of cases of cloned documents, water, electricity, tenancy agreements. In these days of technology, they are easily cloned. So a lot of banks find a way around to bring other documents. They seek other documents on board to prove that, okay, this is where you live. They sometimes recruit a few people on contracts who go around following up on these locations. These days of Google, we were in prominent areas. Somewhere along the line, you can Google some of these places, and there's a sketch that can be drawn with the prominent landmarks, not the person near the coconut tree or the Hausa cocoa and all those things.
Or the plantain.
Plantain seller. No, they are prominent landmarks.
But I know some banks have a GPS in place so that when you come and you mention a landmark, they can go into their GPS and they can trace and locate, if not exactly, at least they can have an idea of the area that you are residing. Most banks have that in place now. I know most banks have it. But why would the bank want to know it for a customer? You have talked about anti-money laundering, you have talked about drug peddling and all that. But what other reasons would the bank?
Some customers get concerned. They said banks are getting too inquisitive. Why should I tell you where I live and all these things? But we try to allay their fears, because it's like a financial marriage. I need to know where you live. Sometimes somebody will be doing something that we could suspect that somebody is hacking into your email or doing something that we need to talk to you yourself. And these things help us also help our customers as a preventive measure. And the other side is that in case a customer also does something, the person can also be tracked down, because there's a lot of
fraudsters
out there. But then the fraudsters are sometimes ahead of the institutions and have their way around it. And
but now banks are very vigilant.
Exactly.
Their security are tight. And I know some banks have police service 24/7 at their various branches.
That is a must. Every bank should have guard duties, both private security and the police guard.
The police guard.
Yes, it's a must because of the assets that we are protecting, customers' assets and valuables, and it is a must. That
so it's not too much asking for KYC, knowing your customer, because we indeed need to know whom we are transacting business with.
Exactly.
And as you have already said, it's a kind of banking or financial marriage. And we need to actually know where you reside.
Exactly.
And we take some banks, I know that if you are a good customer, on your birthday, they parcel something and give you a surprise. Some banks also call the customer to wish the customer well. Sometimes text messages are sent around just to make the customer part of the family. So that it will not be as if the customer is on one leg and the bank is also on another leg.
Exactly.
It's a kind of partnership and a family. But if you refuse or you don't give the exact locations of where you live, and anything happens, you may think that the bank does not care. We show consent. The bank is actually showing consent. So don't be frightened or be bothered about the questions that are being asked when you get to a customer service person's desk.
Maybe to add on, I will also add on the positive side. These days, managers go visiting customers. And when a customer is not operating the account for a while, it is the duty of the banker to look out for the customer, to know why the customer is not coming. It could be because there's a problem. And that is where you can revive dormant accounts. Also, when you want a loan, the customer has to know where you are living. And apart from that, there should be proof of ownership. If it's a business, then obviously you have to bring your registered documents, and all these things make the banks know the customers. You may be bereaved. Obviously, the bank will send a delegation to visit you, attend to your funeral and all that. So as I said, the marriage is on. Relationship banking is now the end thing.
And it's an
ongoing process.
Exactly. So it's not the bank wanting to be inquisitive, but the bank wanting to have a continuous relationship with its customer. We've been talking about the individual person. Okay. What if somebody also walks in, a body corporate, one or two persons having opened an account, having opened a company, and they wanting an account, and goes to a customer service or a sales executive's desk? What should we expect?
Okay. We expect the same thing plus more, because we KYC the individuals who are representing the company. And then we look at the various documents which should show proof that they are actually owning the business. Likewise, if it's a registered company, you should have at least 2 directors and a secretary by the Ghanaian law. And these should be present to also bring their IDs, their utility bills, so that, as lawyers will say, we lift the veil. In case of anything, we know that these are the people behind the company, and we deal with them honestly and fairly.
You know, on the KYC form, there is a portion that it's asking how much you earn, whether weekly, daily, monthly, yearly. Most customers feel very uncomfortable with that.
That is very true on it. It depends on how the front desk persons approach this subject. It's a very sensitive subject. Now, somebody would say, I'm a businessman. It's a typical thing people say, but a front desk person should ask, what business do you deal in? If you deal in tabletop or maybe a few provisions on a table at a side street, there are certain turnover. As we say, turnover is the number of times the amount that you are expecting to channel to your account. And you may not have an idea. And if you say, okay, every week I'm able to make sales of about 5 million Ghana cedi, the banker should be able to even have an idea that in a week, in a month, in a year, these are expected. They are just estimated amounts which we can use to project the kind of business we are expecting from you, and even assess a loan in the near future. But if you come and don't tell us these things, and then an individual suddenly running millions of turnover in a month, there are certain red flags that is questionable. Because then you have to be advised to to register a business and then channel the business through the bank and not your personal account.
We'll take a short break. Viewers, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
Get ready to move on up with EcoBank. Easy access to your account wherever you are in the world. More ATMs across Africa than any other bank, so there's always one closer to you. The freedom to pay with a card instead of cash. To bank with your mobile anytime, anywhere. Or send money thousands of miles in a flash. Plus, smart ways to save and invest so your children can move on up too. And trust EcoBank to help with the things that matter most. Visit us online today and move on up with EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Viewers, so far we've discussed what a customer should expect when he or she walks into any bank branch. And we are expecting that the customer service personnel or the sales executive should be a very friendly one, because most customers or most persons feel intimidated when they enter most banking halls because of the structures, especially those who are semi-literate or, excuse me to say, so those who don't have the basic education, but they are into good business and into good trading. But the moment they get there, the atmosphere, if it is not so friendly, they feel intimidated. So when they come, as our elderly person in the banking industry has stated, the customer service rep should be a friendly one. If the person comes and is speaking the local dialect, let's go into it. If we don't understand that person's dialect, let's get somebody who understands it so that at least the person can interpret for the customer or whoever has walked in to feel very much at home, because they are the reasons why we come to work every day. We wake up in the morning to go to serve the customer. So if the atmosphere is not too conducive for the customer may have doubts, and we may lose a very good customer, because suppose you are a bit rigid, that customer will move on to another bank who is more friendlier, like EcoBank, and get the account opened, good business transacted. Madam, yeah, so when the customer gets to the teller, you were talking about that one?
Yes. Well, as I said, a teller should also be equally friendly. Any frontline function demands pleasantness. So the first thing is that the person should be welcomed, especially when the person is a new face, obviously. And even with existing customers, you should always welcome them. In our traditional sense, you say, oh, how is the family? Yeah. It's part of us. So after welcoming...
Or it's been a while, especially if it's an old customer that you haven't seen
for
a
long time.
Yeah.
I hope you are doing well. So after welcoming the customer, you ask what the customer is coming to do. Obviously, he'll be having some checks or some cash with the person. So you collect the cash or the check, and the cash and the check should be accompanied by a deposit slip, as some people say, pay-in slip. And it should be filled by the customer or with the assistance of the customer service or front desk, the person who has opened the account, because tellers are not supposed to fill in deposit slips. So after checking the deposit slip to make sure that it tallies with the bulk amount that you cite, you now go into the details and count the money, of course, with the counting machine. And when you are counting, obviously you have to ensure the fine nitty-gritties are adhered to. It is stamped, signed, and the customer's copy is given to him or her.
Now banks are not using the deposit slip. Most banks now collect the money, they pay into the account, and rather issue you with a receipt. I know EcoBank is into that. Most of their branches, you enter, you have your cash, you hand it over to the teller keys in, and then comes out with a receipt, issues it out to you, and they also keep their copy. So I think there's been more development in the system so that the customer will not have to be writing a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, so that banking can be more easier.
Yeah, that is good. And very modern. Of course, banking thrives on technology. The caution here is that the customer should be told that this is the amount that we have, if the person is an illiterate, obviously, the person has to be told that the amount you brought, if it's 500,000 Ghana cedi, that is the receipt you're having. A person could also go and check with another neutral party. So everybody's comfortable.
Madam, so far, so good. So let's talk a little about the book. So we'll find another time, invite you, and then we can go into details.
Okay. The title of the book, The 21st Century Bank Teller, A Strategic Partner, it's actually written for tellers and everybody that works with a teller. It's actually it's a combination of shared experiences. It's not a textbook. It's quite friendly, and it talks about the attributes of a teller, what the expectations of a teller. Some people think the teller is not to be recognized, but then there's a lot of motivation for the teller as that place being a stepping stone to greatness in the future. We also look at fraud and operational risk in their handling, and how the present-day tellers are now being turned into sellers to sell the bank products as well.
It's rather unfortunate we have to end today's program here, but I hope to invite you in future so that you can go into details of the book, because I have actually read it, and it is indeed good for frontliners and tellers and managers as well. This is where we'll end today's program. On Time with Your Banker and Financial Advisor, sponsored by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. See you same time next week.